Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the homework you guys handed in and pretty much just explain the essential importance of studying fabric and how it connects pretty much like a middleman between all of the other subjects of study that really improve your skills. So this is not like other subjects of study that are fun to do, may or may not improve skills directly, most likely may improve over time. Studying fabric and studying cylinders is something that directly improves the way you draw. It directly improves the way you think about form, and it's fast. You improve fast. It changes the way you draw quickly, meaning that in the general timeline of skill building, which is we're talking years or half a year or long-term goals in order to improve and change the way you draw, studying cylinders, specifically cylinders, you can get better within the month, because there's something that snaps in your brain once you start studying them. You start to understand how essential that shape is and what the immediate responsibility you have for that shape, for that subject, and perform it and actually provide that core shadow that you're supposed to provide in order to get the read. The read is what we're talking about when we say you're going to improve quickly. The read is our ability from a distance with very little brush strokes. We'll know that we're looking at the specific object you intended. That's the read. The read is that it's quickly recognizable, identifiable. So the cylinder helps you generate a read, whatever you're drawing, whatever you're aiming for. Cubes are a little bit more complex because they are there because not complex but difficult to reach for certain students, because they require you change your thinking from organic into geometric. We don't think like that. We always think organic. We like to blend. Things are blended in the real world. We don't think in flat surfaces. So the cylinder is actually really a friendly shape for all of us, because the cylinder has a nature to it that is recognizable, familiar, organic, and the geometric shapes have flat surfaces, require a lot of technical thinking. Not everybody thinks like that, and it's not the majority of what we see around us. Everything is always built and structured. So all artists actually have more of a difficult time, outside of those who have been training for like years, to draw mechanical objects than they do organic objects, because they are less familiar, less intimately close to who we are and what we are as a creation. So we have a lot of cylindrical shapes on us. We see a lot of cylindrical shapes around us. The people that we live with, our animals, the things that we see all over in nature, they all have a little bit of cylinder to them. So studying the cylinder will help you get better throughout all of the subject matter that you're aiming at, especially organic. So I wanted to talk about the cylinder first. I wanted to talk about the timeline behind studying the cylinder, what it is exactly and how you should do it. So let's imagine the cylinder as just the mother shape. This is it. That's the mother shape. That's the cylinder. The next step after that in your thinking, once you begin to address this, once you understand it, so the first study that you do is a form study. All right, you're just studying a bunch of cylinders in a basic canvas, and you're just studying all these cylinders. All right. The next step after that is fabric study, and that's why I had to assign that last month. Because fabric studies are cylinder plus conditions plus exceptions. So we have a lot of cylindrical indication here, a lot of cylindrical patterns and shapes and changes, but we have a flat material used for fabric. So it changes the way you think about the cylinder, but it's still cylindrical. We still see that cylinder right here. We still see what it's doing. After that, right after this type of study, we have, I'm not sure why my brush changed, we have something called anatomy studies. All right, so anatomy studies is the combination of both of these subjects. Not that we have flat body parts, but we have these kinds of folds and bends all over the body that look like fabric studies. You see those folds? They're not necessarily flat, but they have a very fabric-like nature to them. And that's what skin is. It's draping over the essential bone structure, or the most jutting out bone structure. It creates those skin bumps, the bone structure that really sticks out in combo with the muscle structure. So we don't see the entirety of the bone nature of the forearm, but we still see things like this that create these fabric-like folds on the surface. So anatomy is the combination of those two, of fabric and form. And when we want to study in this chronological order, what we're doing is we're building a building block so that when we get to anatomy, it's a lot easier for you to do these studies and a lot more fun and a lot more rewarding if you did it in this order than if you just went straight into anatomy without any of these studies. And obviously you struggle, and struggling demotivates a student. Struggle makes you not want to draw. Struggle leads to art block, because you associate struggle with the craft. You no longer have fun. You're basically conditioning yourself to not enjoy the process. So that's why I always say, find a different way to study that subject, break it down into different components. So you are learning, you are efficiently exposing yourself to knowledge and learning efficiently, and you're having fun and avoiding constant failure. So students who don't have a background in form study and fabric study, when they do anatomy studies, their anatomy studies suffer. They're not that great. And there's a lot to fix. Not only is it core shadow fixing, but anatomy itself. Anatomy is form, fabric, and the actual anatomy, the human recognizable rules of biology of a human body. So knowing that the ankle only takes this much space, knowing the shape of the ankle, knowing when to thicken the calves, knowing how male muscles work, knowing what fingers do and which are the longest and which stick out the most, and etc. So you have all that knowledge to learn, all the basic geographical knowledge, I guess, of human anatomy. But you have to learn fabric studies and form studies as you are studying anatomy for the first time, without knowing that they're fabric and form studies, meaning that you're trying to understand a fold without any foundation knowledge of the fold. You're trying to understand the cylinder, but you don't really know that you're looking at a cylinder, so what you try to do is just blend until it looks okay. So a lot of you blend for the sake of blending. You guys don't actually blend with an idea or a plan in mind. The idea or plan comes from knowledge and awareness of the cylinder. So some of you guys just really like to do this. And you do this and follow some general guidelines from the reference, but your art doesn't look good, even though you spent hours drawing and sketching like that. Something about your shadows didn't quite end where they needed to end. Something about your values didn't quite taper the right way. And that's because in form studies, when we study form, we learn the surface grid on top of everything. And that same surface grid, we fortify our knowledge and respect of the grid in fabric studies. And then finally, when we get into anatomy, we understand where these grids are. So we know as we start blending closer to the bony part of the ankle, our brush shrinks, our edges are more sharp, and we have to create restrictions. So a lot of you overblend, and that's why studying only the cylinder may be a bad idea for you. It just depends on who you are, like what you do and how you study. But for those who overblend, I still want you to follow this general curriculum, but I don't want you to skip on the geometric form studies. They're extremely important. They're going to help you know that this area is a flattened out area, is a sharper area, is a high traffic edge area. And you learn that by blocking in certain areas and creating those restrictions that are a cause of that rigidity in the, or the cartilage or the bone structure or whatever it is that you're painting around. But at the end of the day, this still took a shape of a cylinder. This ankle, Achilles heel, tendon, whatever it is, still took a cylindrical shape that eventually widened and reincorporated back into the calf shades. And then, of course, there's these restrictions right here, meaning that there was an edge that curved so much and then suddenly changed planes. And that sudden change of planes, it's like a cylinder beside a geometric surface. So that is why I say study your geometry as well as studying all the rest of this curriculum order, basically. So study some cylinders, lots of cylinders, different types of lighting. Understand what a cylinder shadow is. Add your bounce light. Once you do that, study fabric studies with reference, without reference. Watch the videos that I have. They'll help you understand where exactly to add the edge, how to create a believable fold with shadows, what the difference is between the valley shadow and the cast shadow, and what basically they are, how they differentiate from each other. For a lot of you over blenders, for you they're one and the same, and that's completely wrong. And then obviously the bounce light needed there, and then finally jump into anatomy studies. So you would give 2 weeks for this, 2 weeks for this, and 2 weeks for this. You're doing, with this basic curriculum, you're doing a year's worth of improvement if you had just only done anatomy studies once a month. If you do once a month at all, like if you're doing one study every 2 months, you're not going to improve in a whole year past compared to how quickly you can improve with this basic system. So that was a little clip from my apprentice homework critique for last month. They were assigned fabric studies, and they'll be moving into anatomy studies for the next couple of months until finally we do our last December assignment where we compare our old work with our new work. So if you guys are interested in joining as an apprentice, you guys can do that through Patreon. And it really is just an amazing place to be because you're seeing people from different skills attempt the same subject matter. So there's no minimum skill, there's no competition, there's no pressure. You just have one assignment. It's due at the end of every month, and I critique them all. And they're assignments that are a reflection of this advanced curriculum, this high efficiency improvement curriculum. I assign very specific things that target parts of your brain that help click that little epiphany, that little revelation that you may have in your mind about what art is, what form is, what blending is. And those are the kinds of assignments that I assign, those really beneficial assignments that improve things efficiently, that promote quick and long-lasting, real base skill. And I'm going to be critiquing this today, and if you guys want to watch the full critique, join as an apprentice. I upload all my critiques to my apprentice Discord, and I'll see you there. Bye, guys.